This is a mock-up of an experiment setup on the double slit experiment to see if we can test for communication with a non-human intelligence that's in the universe with us. I'll explain all the theory later, but I'll just go straight to the experiment for anybody who wants to start this in a lab or in a research centre. And you understand, this is a mockery where we have the photon source being sent out, single photons in a dark environment, and we have the twin slits, and usually on the back we have a single detection screen, and over time we get the interference pattern, or if we're detecting for which way, we'll get the twin band, or if we're detecting for which way but not actually collecting the statistical information, again we get the interference pattern. So the idea in this experiment is, what we do is we take away the front screen and we split the back screen into a 0 and a 1, two different detectors, one left, one right, split directly down the center. And anything detected on the left is considered a 0, anything detected on the right is considered a 1. Next, what we do is we get a thread. It's going to have to be an extremely thin thread. Akira Tanimura, when he did this experiment, a similar experiment, he used graphene, a graphene thread, to split the photon or the electrons. He split the electron wave function and he got an interference pattern. So to make a long story short, fire single photons towards this thread and have the two detections at the back linked into a processor, and have that linked into a computer the same way as you'd have a CD drive or a USB drive linked into a central processor, and see what code comes out. I'll link a video down below in the video section, or an email to a video by Looking Glass Universe where the scientist splits a laser using this thread setup and getting an interference pattern, so everybody can see visually what happens. Or for a very simple way of running the experiment, which actually might technically be harder, is if we fire single photons one by one and ask questions like, is the moon square? It should land right for no. Is the sun hot? It should land left for yes, etc, etc. But if that works, that's actually technically seems to be more difficult to get a single photon fired. So if we fire a fast, rapid fire of single photons and have this rear screen connected to a processor and see, does it generate coherent binary code, and we see if the intelligence in the field is communicating with us. And the reason this seems to work is because no matter what way we do quantum diffraction experiments, the results always are compatible with focus. As Einstein said, I don't believe that the moon isn't there when I don't look at it. Quantum measurement is a quantized measurement. We can only measure in one dimension. So when the focus changes, when the parameters in the experiment changes, like for example, if we detect for which way, then we are only detecting any part of the wave that's going through the slits, either left or right. And when we stop taking the statistical information, then that twin band goes back to being an interference pattern. So it must be focus, and it can't be human focus because we're not consciously adjusting that focus. So it must be a focus in the universe. A non-human intelligence causing that focus. So please, anybody who has this, try this experiment. And for people who say it's cuckoo nonsense, it's actually, that's the polar opposite of what it is, because science is about testing something, and when there's evidence for it, it makes absolute sense to test. And when we look at the quantum experiments, they show that it is to do with focus. Nothing physically different happens in any of these experiments. The only difference is what is detected, because we can only detect in one dimension. And when you look at the work of, for example, Drew Berry, his work animating the inside of human cells with DNA replication, and the speed that is being done, I saw in another video where they said that the replication of DNA, it's done at a rotational speed that is the same as the speed of a jet engine. And this is inside every single cell that's being replicated in our body. That's billions of cells all the time. And it's highly complicated, highly organized, so it can't just be happening by accident. The other reason is if you look at the protein folding problem, the idea that one amino acid can fold in a way that's intelligent and coherent is something like 10 to the power of 300 against being possible. So if you look at all the models that we have of doing it synthetically, trying to create the conditions and get it to happen by accident, if we had all the time in the universe and we were able to speed up our processes, we still couldn't do it. So it doesn't make sense that it's by accident. It is something that was designing every single interaction in our cell, in our bodies, and every single living cell in nature. All the evidence tells us that it was something intelligent. This is a way that may just be able to communicate directly with that intelligence. And that intelligence, to us, to our minds, when I saw this first, I thought the speeds that this would be doing would just be so beyond anything that any humans could do. It just doesn't make sense. It just couldn't be right. It couldn't make sense. But when you look at the work of Drew Berry and you see how fast the mechanisms inside every living cell happen, it's absolutely possible. Whatever intelligence it is an intelligence exponentially greater in detail and capacity than anything we know on Earth. So it's very, very possible. I'm just on my way walking to somewhere where I can process and edit that video, and it just occurred to me as I'm walking over, just to stress the point. I understand people thinking that this might not work, and they probably think they have better things to do in terms of developing technology and whatever projects they have going on in the universities or research centres. But I think the point that everybody is missing, everybody who is not trying this experiment and putting all their energies into getting this experiment done as fast as possible, is the potential. And if this experiment works, some of the benefits, you could probably go for hours of benefits, but some of the most basic problems facing the world at the minute can be solved basically overnight. We can have the name and address of every human trafficker and everybody who is imprisoned in brothels released overnight. And anybody who is in governments stopping that kind of release, who is corrupt, they can be named, they can be made public who they are. It also means that all the resources in the world can be managed so everybody can get their adequate resources. We know that there's enough resources in this world to feed and heat and run this world many, many times over, but it's just not being distributed equally. That can be overcome. It can explain the true model of physics, how to advance our technology exponentially, how to eat properly, how to exercise properly, how to maximize our health so we can basically live for probably thousands, maybe even millions of years. If there are other intelligent life forces in the universe that have developed this technology already, we'll be able to have conversations with other civilizations on other planets. And in a nutshell, it can leave us to live our life, enjoying everything that we love about life: parties, playing video games online, traveling the world, visiting different people. We can live in absolute leisure, and we can still do as much work as we want, practical work, because there'll still be practical work needed in terms of planting trees, in terms of repopulating the seas, in terms of looking after the environment. There's lots of work that we can still do if we want to. But if we so want, we can enjoy all that's beautiful and pleasurable in life: love, romance, family, parties, arts, music, sports. We can still have all the drama without the deadly drama of wars and human trafficking and rape and murder, etc. So somebody somewhere, please try this experiment, and may the force of love be with you.